in game number 2 here in the final series we played out today, guys. This last best of 5, again, I want to reiterate, 400 euro that Kaspersky is putting into this, and they don't ask you to do a single thing. There's no, like, go sign up on our website and compete in a deal, don't buy our D-Link routers or anything silly like that. They just put money into the StarCraft 2 scene every single month, 100 euro, and it's been a blast just as it has for every other month, and I don't know how to thank them other than just continuing to cast their games, and I hope you guys have been enjoying it too. So, without further ado, in the lower right corner of the map, it's our blue Terran player from Mouse Sports. Give it up for Heromarine.
In the upper left, as the red Protoss, it is Grubby.
And if you guys are live here today with us in Twitch chat, don't forget to vote for your players, ! Vote Grubby or ! Vote Heromarine in chat. It's actually pretty darn close. 58% of you in favor of Grubby and 42% of you rooting for Heromarine to take this series. Oops, sorry, didn't have game sounds on. Now fixed, guys. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. Heavy Rain's a very funny map. It's a very interesting map, to say the least. Drops or Blink can be two very problematic things. Usually it's Blink that's problematic first and then drops later if the Terran can survive through the Blink. But Heromarine, like, Grubby was so, like, nothing against Crass, but he had such control over his series versus Crass. When he 3-0'd Crass, it looked really easy for him. Game number 1, it was like a complete role reversal, and Heromarine, just every aspect of that game was in control.
Yeah, it was. I want to, like, change my bet now, but I'll wait until this game's over to really solidify who I think is going to win. That could have just been a bad game, because, you know, he did something different than all the other games that we saw Grubby do. So
Double
that
forge,
could have just
yeah.
been a case of, like, let me just not do that again.
Well, my bets are still hedged pretty well on Heromarine. One of the greatest things that he's been doing lately, a small nod to him, is he's been streaming a lot. Not so much like within the last couple of weeks, since WCS and all these other big tournaments have started up, but in the downtime of like December, he would be streaming almost every day. He had a lot of really good English commentary, and let's not forget, he is a very young kid to be playing StarCraft 2 so well. But,
yeah,
you know,
it's very impressive. I don't want to be on the foreigner hype train, but he's
a good
finally
one.
a really good foreigner Terran.
Yeah, and there's not a lot, like, that's the problem too, like, there's so many Zerg and Protoss players that are heralded as like great, good, fantastic, whatever, and a lot of them are Korean, but you take Heromarine, put him in the mix, and you can probably go toe-to-toe with a lot of names that you guys could think of. That being said, though, Grubby looks like he will be hiding a Stargate once again towards the southern portion of the map. It's not an all-in by any means, as he's expanding with it, but Reaper coming up to the base has got to stick around for about another 10 seconds, and like, it always comes down to that third pylon. Like, he might have seen the Nexus, sure, but there's way too many probes out for like 2 pylons to sustain within the next like 30 or 40 seconds, and that's kind of one of your biggest tells as a Terran player. It's the lack of information that gives you all the information you need.
Yeah, good way to put it. What do you think it's gonna be for? No
It's
Stargate?
gotta be a Stargate. I mean, he's the probe's not with it, so never mind actually.
Oh, you put down that Twilight Council in the main.
Yeah, and the probe left so early, so I guess it's just a straight up proxy pylon. Like I really thought that was gonna be a Stargate, to be honest. I didn't see the probe leave though.
I would figure Stargate, like, I haven't actually seen enough of this map to see where the exact proxy locations are, but I would expect it to be like in the southern base, whatever this one is, next to the
guess
marine. That's
kind of one of those things though, like, because you know where they are, you gotta think about the obvious spots the Terran player would check, and as we see, Heromarines checking precisely down there.
I was right. Look at that. Good, so. Okay, another one. These are just oddly placed pylons.
It's different angles of reinforcement too, if nothing else, so it's interesting. Back at home though, whether he's aware of this is Blink or not, he does have the Marauder already coming out, and Stimpack has begun, so holding this off is not too difficult initially, but it can... Blink Stalker Snowball, really hardcore. If you can't deal with them initially...
Jeez.
Oh, wow.
That's why. Okay.
So, really trying hard to hide things, trying to pull out some special tactics, to say the least. You know, back at home, he's going to have the overcharge for this first initial push. That'll be no problem. A lot of Terran players will complacently forget to put down missile turrets sometimes. Oftentimes, you'll see, like, sometimes the paranoia turret at the front to catch them, like the observer, but rarely is it ever in anticipation of DTs.
Does he have an engineer bay? Okay, he's getting it right.
Yeah.
So that'll finish just in time for the Dark Shrine, and then the proxy really isn't that close. So if he gets a missile turret immediately, he'll actually be able to defend it.
Where's that mothership core? Oh wow, it's so far away from the Nexus.
Oh, I was like, he even have it. Oh my god. Okay, so he doesn't see. This could be a big tell. He gets back in with the Reaper. He says, "You're not researching anything on the Twilight Council, and there's no Templar archives. You know, what else can it be right now?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. There's definitely no thinking that Grubby like chroned it out so fast that it was finished. And as stated before, Heromarine is a really intelligent player. So yeah, missile turret coming down immediately. Grubby, I imagine it, once seeing the missile turret at the front, won't give up. I mean, once you invest into DTs, you can't really neglect them. But you know, if you invest into something cheap that's really just minerals, like a warp prism, suddenly your DTs have more angles of entrance. But yeah, this is not going to work. This initial attack at all. A for effort, Grubby, but.
Oh, what's going on? Oh, the Reaper is getting back in here. God, that's actually a fairly long-living Reaper. He could try and get a Warp Prism out, you know, and go into the main, because, never mind. Never mind. I was going to say, a lot of Terrans actually don't get a missile turret in the main if they don't automatically see a Warp Prism, and that's a really big mistake, but Heromarines on top of it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, too, because there's like, whether you're a professional player, whether you're amateur in Bronze League, like, chances are you've lost a game to DTs at some point in your career. It happens. And whether you learn from that mistake or not is a whole nother question. Now, one thing that was worth noting, Grubby's Dark Templar never actually went in to die. It saw the army backed up immediately upon seeing the missile turret, so not quite in range of detection. Still has this this guy sort of camp in the cliff. And while DTs might not be effective initially because Heromarine is ready for it, later on in the game when it's all the reinforcements are across the map, sneaking some in that didn't die early on, no problem. Not to mention you can always make Archons out of them. And this is actually going to scout the army moving out fully and entirely.
I really, you know, at the very least, he's going to, I think, pull, you know, his reinforcements a little more than you usually would.
Ooh.
But throwing down a bunker and just putting 2 Marines inside, I think is well worth it. But it's just me. Heromarine is going to not push up there. No, no, no. Force Fields will cut that army off, and he will have half of an army left over.
I would love if Grubby didn't fully kill that, but like waited to use it as like a way to split the army up. But all right, Medevac's going to drop towards the main when this goes off. Mothership Core and a Colossus are both out. So, I mean, Photon Overcharge is going to be an option. Colossus is certainly going to aid to this a little bit, but without the extended thermal lens finished just yet, the Marauders can certainly stim on top of it.
Yeah, that it is. 2 Marauders is enough to really do it, but not with that many Stalkers as well. So he's actually going to lose this drop. Going to take a few Stalkers with him. You know, not, you know,
go down fighting.
Something. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the force towards the natural base wasn't quite able to move in due to the rocks blocking them out for so long. So a little bit delayed, but a couple of Marines will get in here to try and focus fire down a couple of Zealots. Wanted to go for the probes, obviously, but somewhat limited on what he could do.
Yeah. Some nice probe kills with a few Marines. Gets out. Heromarine did lose a big chunk of that army, and he didn't... I don't really know if he did enough damage. He got a few units with it, but...
He saw the Colossus, though, right? Like, that was kind of the big... I mean, he knew it was coming because the Reaper got the information, but seeing the Colossus actually out... Not that that makes up for the lack of damage, but it's going to certainly help, because now we have Vikings coming out a little bit sooner than I think he would have otherwise done.
It's true. Unfortunately, he's only down to 2 medevacs, though. Usually, in like a best-case scenario, you have 4, and then you start Vikings when you see it, but now he lost those 2. He needs to actually build 1 and 1. He needs to be a little careful about this counterattack. It's not an all-in from Grubby, but it can be a little scary, especially with a low Viking count.
Yeah. The Marines and the Marauders are actually going to get poked at here by the DT. Scans it immediately. So Dark Templar, again, are not going to be initially useful here, guys, but still, Grubby could utilize them in the late game. Late game DTs are actually something you do see a little more effectively used than all-in DTs from the start of a game. SVs are not... Is that really a pull?
Whoa.
Is that really a pull? That's going to be a full-on SCV pull.
Actually, yeah, I thought he was, like, preparing to defend, but
I think he was preparing to defend. Yeah.
Okay. That was right.
I thought it was like, wow, because was it Major pulled SVs versus Puck's Colossus and wrecked him, like, in the Game On thing, so maybe thinking Heromarine was inspired, or... I don't know.
I don't think it's a terrible map for it. Like, honestly, it might have been a good idea, but...
The longer
people
it goes,
really aren't going into a TVP anymore and saying, when do I SCV pull, you know? That's not their game plan anymore. So.
Well, do you remember, like, on Ohana, you'd have, like, those, like, 2-base tank SCV pushes, too? Like, you just try and hit before Colossus get out, and that was, like, the only goal.
2-2-2.
Yeah.
I think it was called. Yeah.
Something like that.
Those.
But okay, we got a Warp Prism in the main. Could actually be picked off by this turret eventually. I don't actually know if the turret will kill it in time. Zealots are still going to warp in, but It's dealt with. The Dark Templar tries to come back in, and Heromarine got to choose. Like, does he go full offensive, or does he try and bring his forces back to defend? Because what he has at home right now is not cutting it. Viking falls, and the Dark Templar still being a problem. Tries to kite what's in the main, cleans up the Zealots, but again, still a few more things he has to worry about first, including this Dark Templar.
Yeah. Not too many SCVs killed though. Only 7 so far, and a bit of his army. So I think he's still looking good. I mean, the probe count is actually very, very even. There's not a whole lot of Vikings, but it's only 2 Colossus, so that might still be okay. The ground army is still rather big. Against 2, you maybe want 8 rather than 6.
Grubby deflects the attack once again. Gotta give it to him. Like, Heromarine, really, he's been looking for these opportunities to just pick Grubby apart, but Zealots in the main holding, not wasting overcharges. Even in game 1 displayed that he didn't want to waste an overcharge unnecessarily, so really keeping a calm head here against Heromarine.
Yeah. Well, breaking down the rocks, not something you actually see. It's like the not Daybreak. It's like the Belshir rocks. Like, you know they're destructible, but you don't really remember.
Or the Abyssal City ones. Those ones are always like the dumbest ones ever.
I can barely remember those ones.
There's like 2 ramps right next to them, just like Belshir, so it's like you just always walk around them. Like it never really got utilized, but yeah, it's always weird seeing those rocks here on Heavy Rain. But this opens up another path in which you can just kind of move up, forward, and through. Sadly, still hasn't scouted anything on the right half of the map, so the pylons, the Dark Shrine, nothing like that.
Getting the Dark Shrine would be really helpful. Not having to worry about DTs as the game goes on.
Huge weight off your shoulder, yeah.
Attack seems to be happening. Ooh. The cannon does go down before the militia corps goes down. The Archon is underneath the Vikings.
There's not a lot of stalkers here, though. The Colossus falls. The Vikings, they get their job done, and what's impressive is all the Marauders are still alive. So what's left for Grubby can't really fight Heromarine head on. And Heromarine, he's either going to camp the production or just land in the main.
Oh, landing against Zealots, I don't know about that. Yep, nope.
Oh, but it draws a blink. It draws all the stalkers away from the army. Now it's just Marauders versus, well, what is Archons, couple Zealots, but mostly Immortals, which they should be able to pick apart in numbers like this, but yeah, all the Vikings just wasted there. A little sad to see.
I guess Grubby can't quite yet afford to go back into Colossus, although his bank is actually saying differently. But losing all your Vikings, like, even if they're on the ropes, I don't like it.
Where did that Dark Templar come in?
They've both just reset each other's tech, I suppose, so it doesn't really matter in the long run.
Yeah, Heromarines 2-2 is only just starting to, which is a little bit unfortunate for him. But Grubby's not exactly super far ahead on upgrades either. He's not been able to afford the gas count to just chrono out like double upgrades all game and be on 3-3 already. If he was, then this would be a very, very different looking game. But Heromarines still the ones that are dictating actions, trying to stay outside of Grubby's base. Doesn't want to, just really doesn't want to let him deathball to that point where he's maxed out and can push.
It's so weird seeing Grubby survive because he has no Colossus and no Storm.
Yeah, this is usually like the A-move situation for Terran, but
he's just so afraid of, I feel, force fields because there is that choke right there in the third. And the Immortals, Immortals are always weird, right? You look at them and sometimes your like logical side says, well, those will do well against my Marauders, so I shouldn't attack. But then like your reaction, like your physical reaction is just like attack because they're Immortals. They're not Colossus, they're not Storms.
Well, it's kind of like...
And I feel like the latter is actually correct. Like Immortals look good, but I don't know. You target them down so quickly.
Well, it's kind of like the what happened with Slivko earlier too, right? Like you just see that fungal go off, you're like, okay, attack. Even though it was an amazing fungal, you don't necessarily want to attack into it.
Yeah. More rocks gonna go down, opening up the pathway just a little bit.
Oh my god!
To reinforce.
These are the last rocks on the map too, Zombie Grub. This could be it for that. Oh, looks like actually I take that back. He's actually hidden in a collapsible rock tower down here to the south.
He's gonna get this fourth. I don't know.
That's actually gonna be a really nice snipe too.
What Grubby was thinking, actually.
This was a bold fourth to take for sure. He's gonna try and come in from the side, but that's not gonna cut it. The Archons are leading the way, but the Viking count's not exactly huge like it once was. So still gonna push this back, albeit slowly. EMPs are available, and let's not forget EMPing Immortals takes away the Hardened Shield. Now these Marauders can fight a little more effectively, but still wants to avoid the Zealots as much as possible. 2 Colossus at a time. We're talking about whether he had the economy for it or not. Looks like he does. Trying to establish a base over here to the top right instead. I don't know. He definitely needs the money, but it's going to be so hard to secure something like this. Grubby's got a really strong army for a head-on fight, but not against mobilizing against drops and split armies.
Ooh, I think Heromarine really needs to, condense his army right now. That's 5 ghosts just being out in the middle of nowhere. There aren't any storms, but the EMPs are crucial against Well, I mean, they're always good. Let's
Yeah.
get that out of the way. So, you know, they're going to be helping against the Immortals as well as the Archons.
A little worried for like he's I gotta tell you, the greatest thing Grubby's been able to pull off so far this game too is like the fact that he's been able to maintain Colossus counts without really like many stalkers. Usually you see way more stalkers than this with these upgrades, but still limited amounts with Blink. The Archons have been doing a great job of driving this back. That being said, this is still going to be an awkward engagement for Grubby because he just doesn't have a whole lot of anti-air.
Yeah, and the Archon stuck. The
EMPs
Stalker's
everywhere.
on the wrong side. Heromarine needs to not take damage from the Colossus, though. That's actually the big.
Yeah, he
the
could
big
back
problem.
away from
He's still
this.
gonna survive.
Yeah.
Still gonna survive.
This
But,
newly rallied Colossus also going to fall. Vikings did land and be like, oh wait, there's another Colossus. Let's get back up in the air. Pilot did manage to establish behind this, but I don't know if the charge lots will be enough to end this. With concussive shells and a couple of landed Vikings combined with the ghost damage, looks like Grubby's army is wiped.
I think Heromarine could have taken that engagement a little bit better by like kiting a little way from the Colossus, because that is the power of having so many Colossus, you know, above 4 is that even if they go down, they'll deal enough damage, it doesn't matter. So usually if you're lucky, you can kite away from him, and he had a little room to maneuver, but in the end, he does take a supply lead. He gets rid of a lot of Grubby's tech, that high gas units, but then his army is also pretty low. He needs to wait for it to come back up. Where are the upgrades at? Oh, they're 3-2 versus 2-2 in that engagement as well.
Well, Grubby does have this base up and running, so he's not out of the game per se, but his army is going to be suffering for the rest of this. Like, unless he takes a fantastic engagement, I just can't see him really overshadowing Heromarine anytime soon. Planetary Fortress here at the 4th for Heromarine 2 is going to guarantee no Zealot run bys, really cause him any trouble. And Storm is now starting up, but again, I fear it may be just a little bit too late. The ghost count's already been pretty nice, and he didn't really take that many losses. But actually, our army is going to be completely out of position to defend for both players. I'm not sure if this would instigate a full-on trade, but it looks like Heromarine is going to pull back off of this.
Nice splinters away. What's nice about Terran is that, you know, splintering part of your army usually works out better for you. But it still could be a tight hold at the front. No, actually, Grubby will run away. No Mothership Core, so no recall. If he wants to run away, it's got to be now. He's not getting away once the Marauders catch up.
No, but that newly formed base does go down, which is really unfortunate because that was a lot of fresh income. Heromarine, being benevolent, decides to spare the probes, apparently. Just sitting there. Okay.
Oh, they're coming back to die. And they get screwed.
One gets caught. What a fool.
Hey. Picks up 2 Vikings helping this out. Just a little misclick there. Heromarine still not. It's been a very back and forth game where I thought that Heromarine would have a little bit more. Like, not back and forth. That was a dumb sentence.
Well, no, it actually has been, because it's been a lot of times where Grubby's been deflecting and holding fantastically, and it's situations where honestly, there's been at least 3 times where I've been hesitant to say like Heromarine got this in the bag, right? But Grubby is still in this game. Even one Zealot down here getting 4 SCV kills. I mean, it's these minor little things that he's doing that's, you know, we're not exactly hyping up and bringing it to the attention of the audience, but it's still really important. And what's keeping him not only in the game, but giving him a chance to even fight.
Yeah. The army supply is looking really good for Heromarine now, though. I feel like he has been taking the slightly better trades each time, so it is finally starting to really show. And if he just gets one good engagement, you know, it can happen either way.
The storms are going to be
PvP.
huge.
Yeah. Either way, either one gets a really good engagement. You can actually just obliterate your opponent's army sometimes in PvP, you know, and not lose anything for yourself. But it's let's see who goes for who. Oh, nice storm. Which is a lot of the army.
The problem is, like, there's not a lot of Marines in this army anymore. It's a lot of Ghosts, a lot of Marauders, units that can actually eat that storm full on and live to see another day. Combined with a medevac count that's never really been faltered with too much. I mean, it's not that many medevacs even died this game, 3 in total. 24 Vikings have died, actually. Just side note, but looks like with that EMP from the medevac, Heromarine actually catches this completely off kilter, and I think Grubby, this could be it. This could be the death stroke.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like, run one wrong thing, and then suddenly your army looks absolutely terrible compared to Heromarines. And Heromarines just pushed to victory. And I think he's going to win. There's no other splash for Grubby.
There's a couple storms coming, but...
Oh, 1 storm. Another storm has to go, and actually has 2 more storms, but the split's already there.
Storms a lot of his own Zealots there, unfortunately, too. The splits from Heromarine have actually been pretty good so far. Ghosts and Marauders, just a little bit too much, though. Heromarine will take a 2-0 lead now in this best of 5.